I just built an infinite content ideas machine in n8n and I'm sharing it to everyone. Because this AI system curates the best YouTube videos that you can copy daily. And you can build it too without a single line of code. Because what this AI agent does is you give it any keyword in your niche. It scours the whole of YouTube for videos uploaded in the past week. Then from those hundreds of videos, you can see there's 510. It filters out the bad ones, copies the good ones into a Google Sheet for your weekly inspiration, then takes the best videos from that already curated list, and it sends it to me over at Slack along with what the video is about, why that video is performing, and most importantly, how I can make it my own. And that's all automated every day if you want to. And in this video, I'll teach you the simplest way to do this without writing any single line of code. And I'm confident that anyone from any background can create this if you just invest time to learn about AI in the next few minutes. So watch till the end. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Jay, and it is my sole mission to make AI easy to understand for anyone who wants to learn it, especially if you want to make a living from this wave. In fact, to make this as easy as possible, what I've done is to collate all of the resources and prompts you need in this lesson in this page, which you can access in the link by the video description, with an important call out for this blueprint file, because if you download that and import it in the no-code tool that we will be using, then it will create for you that same automation, which will save you tons of time in just setting it up. And if in case you're not yet part of the community, the RoboNuggets community is basically a group of AI professionals who are learning together on how to take advantage of this AI wave to make money or save time or just grow their businesses. And inside the community, you'll find step-by-step lessons around AI and how to create agents that do your work for you or earn you passive income. And within each of those lessons are ready-to-load AI blueprints that you can just import, similar to what I've demonstrated just a few seconds ago. And we also have a growing network of professionals who are using AI to do their work for them. And you can see there's a lot of good discussion here around some of the interesting things that people are doing with artificial intelligence. So check that out if you are keen. Okay, let's dip into this. So there's basically 3 parts to this automation. The first part is basically this top row where we'll be getting details of the videos that we will be scouring YouTube for, and ending it with a filter for videos that perform, which is here on the right. The second row here basically appends all of those good videos into your Google Sheet list and then filters that further for the outliers, only the top videos in that cohort. And finally, part 3 is getting our AI agent to recommend a video idea to us based on that top video and send it to Slack or any messaging app that you use frequently. And the very first thing that you want to do is to go to n8n.io, which, if in case you're not aware what that is, it's basically a no-code automation tool, which is similar to Zapier or Make.com if you're familiar with those tools. But quite recently, as in just a few weeks ago, it has actually surpassed the search demand already for both Zapier and Make combined because of how easy it is to set up and just the amount of AI integrations that you can do with n8n. So go to n8n.io, click Get Started, and once you get to the homepage, just click on Create Workflow here at the top right. And if you look at our end in mind here, basically we'll be setting up 5 modules very quickly. And the very first one is a trigger, which is basically the command on how the automation will start. So for our use case, we'll just select this schedule trigger node. And then if you see this, there's a pretty simple config here. What I like to do is set it to run on a weekly basis. And then we can just leave this as is, depending on what you need. And then just click on test step to make sure that works. And you can see it returned to you the time right now, which is what it's using to check if the trigger should be run. And the next module is, of course, YouTube, because that's where we will be getting our information. And what you would want to select is this Get Many Videos action, because that will basically allow you to search for a keyword and then get all of the videos in YouTube's database that satisfies your conditions. So if you just double click that, the very first thing that you need to do is to connect n8n to your YouTube. And you can see I already have that here. And I'll actually go through it because some people may find this complex, but it's quite easy to set up. You just need to click on a few things. And if you just start with creating a new credential, you will see that it's looking for a client ID and client secret. And to get that, if I just go to our community page here, I've already linked out this URL, which you can just click. And this documentation by n8n actually goes through how to create a new Google credential. So just go ahead and create a Google Cloud account first. So you click on that. And once you're logged in, just make sure to click on console. And this is basically the space where you can set up a lot of the connections. And essentially, there's just a few simple steps that you need to do. The first one is for you to create a project within that space. So just click on this area and then click on new project. So let's create a new one here, and then just go ahead and click create, and just make sure that you are switched to that project by clicking here and then navigating to your project by clicking there, so that you just ensure that the credentials you're setting up are in the right project. So that's good. The next thing to do is to go to navigation, APIs and services, and click on library. And here, Google has a lot of APIs. Obviously, we'll be getting the one for YouTube, and select YouTube Data API v3, which is basically the API that allows you to crawl YouTube's database. So click on enable, and now you have YouTube enabled for your project. Now the last few things to do is to go to APIs and services once again, and now click on OAuth consent screen. And this is just something you need to do once so that you can configure this project to enable OAuth. So click get started. For the app name, provide n8n there, and then just select the most relevant user support email, most likely yours. And then under audience, click on external, click on next. And then again, for email address, just provide your contact information there and click on finish. And then once you're here, you just need to add n8n under branding and look for authorized domains and click on add domain. And in n8n's documentation, it asks us to add n8n.cloud. So I'll just copy that, n8n.cloud. Click on add domain and click on save. So the last thing you want to set up is to set up your credentials. Just click on create credentials here, select OAuth client ID, and then for the application type, select web application, and then just give it a name. And under authorized redirect URL, you would want to add a value here, which you can get from n8n. And in this YouTube setup screen, you can just click on this to copy it and paste it here and click on create. And now it has provided you with this client ID and client secret, which you should keep to yourself. And then you can just copy that over to n8n within these relevant fields. And before you click sign in with Google, just go back to your Google Cloud Console, and under the OAuth consent screen, just click on audience and make sure to have this app published. So click on that and confirm. And if you go back to n8n, now you can use this sign in with Google feature. And in the pop-up, since it's your app, just click on advanced if this shows to you and go to n8n.cloud. Provide it the credentials and click on continue. And there you go. It has provided you with the confirmation that it is successful. So click away on that. And now you have your credential that has been successfully set up. So now for us to test this out, just a few tweaks to the attributes here. Later by the end, we'll toggle this on to return all of the results of the search. But for now, to save a bit on memory, let's just set it to something like 10 entries so that we'll only get a result of 10 for every search result we do. And then for the filter, you just want to provide a published after filter. And if you go back to our community page under the YouTube filter date, just copy this and paste it there. And what that basically does is it gets for you a date that is 7 days ago, which today is February 17. You can see it's returning to me February 10. So we'll be getting all the videos published after that date. And then another filter would be this query, which is basically your search keyword. So for now, I'll put in n8n, but if you have a different niche, go ahead and type in like your specific niche here, and it will return you the videos that are relevant to you. And then under options, you just have an option here for the sorting order, which is good so that we can sort by relevance. And under save search, you can set it to moderate so that you can filter out some undesirable results. All right, so if you click on test step, you can now see an output here on the right, which we'll go through in a bit. But just to step back and quickly explain how n8n works, because this is quite fundamental, because every node in n8n is pretty much structured this way, where you have the input, meaning all the attributes that get passed onto this node here on the left side. You have the configuration, which is the one you just set up for YouTube here at the center in the green area. And then you have the output out here on the right edge of the screen. So this is pretty standard with n8n. and it's quite confusing in the beginning, but honestly, it's much simpler when viewed in this framework. So if I go back to our example for this YouTube node, you can see the input here is coming from that scheduled trigger node that we first set up. And then you have the configuration for YouTube that when you click on test step, provided you with this output that provided 10 items because we filtered for 10. And then if you scroll to the right, you can see that there is some video information here, like what the YouTube title is, a snippet of what the description is, and a few other important information. But what is missing, if you can see, is there are no metrics around views, comments, how many likes, and all that good stuff. So that is what we will be getting in this next node, which is basically going to be an HTTP request. So click on that. And as you build the automation, you can see the inputs here neatly being passed forward by n8n, which is great. And for this config, keep the method to get. For the URL, if you go back to the community page, you can just copy this URL for that HTTP request and paste it here. And then just toggle send query parameters. So under the queries here, we'll be sending 3 parameters. So just make sure there's 3 there. And then we'll name them as key, which is going to be your API key or password for YouTube. One that's named part, which is the sections that we'll be getting from YouTube for the video details. And one called ID, which is the specific video ID that's unique to every video. And this would be done once we get those 3 information. So the very first one is to get this key. So this API key, if you just go back to your Google Cloud Console and then make sure you're in the project that you are operating in, and under APIs and services, click on credentials again. And now you'll create a credential here, but select API key. And with that click of a button, it now has provided you your API key, which again, you should keep to yourself, but just copy that to clipboard and paste it here. And then if I scroll down under part, you just want to type in snippet and statistics, which are some defined values from YouTube's API. And under ID, what you want to put here is under schema in this input window, expand this YouTube section and look for the video ID that looks something like this string. So drag that across into value and you're done. You can now test this step, click on that, and you can see it provided you with the 10 videos that you got from before once again. But this time, if you scroll down data that you got all the way to the bottom, you now have some statistics like how many views this video got so far, how many likes, how many comments, etc. So that's done, and now you can click away, and that's good. But what's actually missing are some of the metrics that are quite important to assess a video's performance, which if we just go to our end in mind sheet here that we're about to fill up, we have here these 3 values, the like rate, which is basically the amount of likes divided by the views as a percentage. You have the comment rate, which is the comments divided by the views as a percentage again, and the views per hour. Because obviously these are published in different days. And so by dividing the views based on how long they've been live so far, then you'll be able to compare them in a much more fair way. So how do you get this information? And the way you do that is to just add a fourth node here and look for code, and then set this mode to run once for each item. And under this JavaScript section, if you go back to our community page, you can just type this out or copy it and paste that in there. And what this basically does in a nutshell is it contains a JavaScript that calculates for you the like rate, the comment rate, and the views per hour, and then returns them into a table. So if I click on test step now, it once again provided me with those 10 videos, but provided a pretty good data table with the title of the video, the URL of that video, when it's published, the views, likes, comments, as well as these specific metrics, which are important to assess which ones are good. And that's done. So just click away. So now the last thing to set up is an if node, where you will basically set 3 filters, which you can just amend depending on what you feel is relevant for your niche. But just drag in from this code node the like rate, the comment rate, and the views, and then set this filter to is greater than for the 3 of them, and then just provide this with some numbers based on what you observe, depending on how many videos you want filtered or not. So for me, I've set it as these values, and then click on convert types when required, and then click on test step. So now you can see these values where there are 4 items out of the 10 which satisfied our filter, and 6 which did not. And in n8n, it has provided that view as well. So now we will click on this plus icon under true so that we can extend it for our next section, which is all about adding it to our Google Sheets data. So just click on that and then click on append row in sheet. And here to set it up, you just need to set up your credential. And this one's quite simple. Just click on create new credential and sign in with Google. And that will allow you to integrate directly with Google Sheets. And for you to be able to select the document from this list, you first need to create it. So if you just head back to our community page and then click on this link, it will take you to this Google Sheet template, which you can just copy by clicking on File and click on Make a Copy. And once you have that copied onto your Google Drive, you'll be able to select that from your list. In my case, it would be this one. And then under Sheet, just select Sheet 1. And then for each column, you just need to map them to the relevant fields, which should be quite easy because you have them cleanly laid out here in your latest node anyway. So just drag them across. Published at goes to here, views goes to here, likes goes there, comments, like rate, comment rate, views per hour. And there you go. So now there are a few remaining pieces here, which is this ID column, and that's just the video ID that you can find, if you remember, under HTTP request. And then this ID, just drag that across. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, you have this video description, which you can again find under that HTTP request. Drag that across. And then this added date is basically the date that this automation has added this row into your Google Sheet. So what you would want to put there is an expression that will return today's date. And if you go back to our community page, there is a piece of JavaScript there that you can just copy and put it here. And you can see it is returning today's date as an example there. So now if I click on test step, what this has now done is provided you 4 items, which are the ones that we filtered as good videos. And now if I go back to my sheet, n8n has now filled out those videos for me. So now I have 4 really great performing videos in the past week, filtered amongst the dozens upon dozens of videos that you can find on YouTube. So now that alone is already valuable because now you can just look at these videos and assess if they are videos that you'd like to take inspiration from. But if you go to our final automation here, you can see we have a section where we take it a step further and you have your AI agent get the best performing videos from that good video cohort and actually provide you with some insights around how you can make it your own, as well as potential enhancements to the video in question. So to do that, there's just a few more nodes to set up, but let's just quickly clean this up and then set up our next node, which is another Google Sheet 1, specifically this get row function. And this is quite simple. Just choose that same document that you are working with. For me, it's this Google Sheet, and then that same sheet again. And then under filter, just add a filter for your column called added date. And then for the value, you want this to return today's date, which again, you can just get from this string and put it there and make sure to set it as an expression. And you can see it's returning today's date as an example. So test that step and you can see it returns 16 items, which should not be the case because what I forgot to set is under settings, have it execute only once, because we do need to read that Google Sheet only once to return the 4 rows that's contained in that sheet if you just click on test step again. So now you have the latest values here on n8n. You can now add another filter. So another if node, and then this time we'll only filter for only the top videos. And this is once again is an optional step if you don't want to get dozens of Slack messages. In my case, what I like to do is to set the like rate into an even greater amount so that I only get the one that is really performing the best, something like 5.5. Convert types when required. Click on test step, and then you'll see that only one of the 4 satisfy that stricter filter, while the other 3 fell below that like rate that I set. So now, what do we do with this remaining 1 item? So if you just extend that and look for a basic LLM chain, this is now where we will call for our AI agent to summarize for us the top performing video and how we can potentially be inspired from that. So now to set this up, just change this source for prompt to define below and under this text, just switch it to expression. And then if you go back to our community, you can just copy this source for prompt here and paste it there. And basically that just feeds your LLM chain with the YouTube video's title, the description, what's the URL, what's the like rate, and what was the date for today, which is all obtained from this if node. And then we also want to give it some guidance, obviously, with what to do with that information. So if you just add a prompt here and under system, you can just copy what I have here or edit it to what you need. And then before pasting, just change that to expression and then paste it there. And then if you click this and open this up, you can see it's basically a prompt that is guiding it on what to do with that information, and post it on Slack or the messaging app of your choice in this format, which we'll illustrate in a bit. And before we do a test step, just click away into your automation here. And what you need to do to be able to run this is to add a model, which n8n is giving you a lot of options here. For now, let's just use OpenAI since that's the one that's most popular. And then connect your credential here, which if you haven't done that before, just click on create a new credential. And all you need is this API key, which if you don't have that yet, just go to this URL and sign up within OpenAI if you haven't yet, and just click on create new secret key. And that should provide you with the key that you can just paste into here. And then from the model, just select whichever is most relevant. 4o mini is pretty cost effective, so let's leave it at that. So now you have a chat model that supports that. And if I double click on this basic LLM chain again and click on test step, what it's now doing is capturing all these inputs and your prompt here, and using this guidance, it has now provided an output, if I click on this, of an analysis of the top performing video, which is now ready to be sent to Slack. So now that is the final module that we can set up. If I just hit on Slack and then look for send a message, connect your credential under Slack, which is just a single sign-on by clicking on connect my account. And then under send message, just select channel, and under channel, select the one that you would like the message to be sent to. And under message text, you just need to drag this there and click on test step. So now it's successful. And if I go back to Slack, you can see that it provided me with the top performing video for the week and a message summarizing what it's about, why this video works from its analysis, some potential enhancements that one can do, and how I can make it my own, giving me that constant stream of inspiration for future videos. And there you go, this is now done. So now all that's left to do, if you click on save and then click on this bin icon to delete the current execution data, to go back to this YouTube module, so just double click that. And now you would want to return all. So now if we run this workflow, you can see it's now searching all of YouTube for the keywords we were looking for. It returned to us 492 items, of which 36 of those are good videos, depending on the engagement metrics that they have. And among those 36 items, we found 3 that are actually top performing. And for those 3 items, our chat model is now summarizing them so that it can send it to Slack and provide us with good summaries that we can take inspiration from every week. So you can see I have a new one here, which is not even in English, because our AI agent is multilingual. It was able to translate that to us to English, which you wouldn't have been able to find out yourself. But now I know that apparently there's an n8n and WhatsApp automation that people are finding valuable based on the outlier like rate that it's experiencing right now. And don't forget to just turn on this workflow by clicking on activate. And now every week, based on the schedule you set, this workflow will run for you in the background. And there you go, that is now done. Hope that was valuable for yourself. And remember, if you're interested in more around AI and automations, you can check out our community, which you can find in the link in the video description. And you can see we have a lot of other lessons here around AI and automation that can help you win in this space while it's early. And within our community, there's a lot of really good discussions here and several AI professionals who are just making a lot of progress while also saving time and earning some money on the side, whom you can connect with as your network within this new AI space. So have a check around that if you haven't yet. And if this automation helped you in any way, do give a like or subscribe because it helps us a lot. See you guys next time. Thank you.